Okay, so I want to show you how to get started with Chapter 2. You'll notice, I'm sure, that on the back flat where you had your data CD, that there are several different data files for different chapters. The book also suggests that you can use your own data file, which is what I would suggest. The only reason that you really would need to use any of those files after Chapter 1 or Project 1 would be that if you think that you really just messed everything up, your balances are all off, and you just need a fresh start. But, you know, try to prevent that from happening. Even say if you were to make an error and you were to have to void something and you came back and you corrected it and got all the balances right, then you could still use your prior file from the prior chapter because all the balances were correct. As we go along, the dates that we use for each subsequent chapter is different. So you may use December 1 to 15 for one chapter. The next chapter you're going to start 15 through 20, so on and so forth. So you're not actually using the same dates. And so it usually works out okay if you make a mistake here or there, as long as you go back and just make sure you correct balances. I went ahead and I opened up QuickBooks, and when I did, it came up with these two data files. We do not want to overwrite any of the backup files, and you can actually create another company file that's Chapter 2. So I'm going to open or restore a company, restore a backup file. And since I'm doing the chapter data as I just get started with Chapter 2, I'm going to pull up my Chapter 1 backup file. I've actually have 3 of them. I'm going to need to pull the most recent one, which is that one. Now it's going to create a company file. So I don't want to save it over the Chapter 1. I'm going to save it and call the new company file Chapter 2. So again, notice up here it says Save Company File As. And I'm going to click Save. So it's restored it. It's created a new company file. And this new company file is going to be Chapter 2. You'll do the same thing when you get ready to do the project. You're going to restore your Project 1 backup file. Notice it says Rock Castle Construction. It says Chapter 1 because that's where I had gone in under these company information. See, right here. The chapter, I believe, I'm not looking at Chapter 2, but it's probably going to ask you to go ahead and change that to Chapter 2. That's exactly what it does, so I'm following right along with the book at this point. So I'm going to change it to Chapter 2, say OK. When I do that, you see how it says Chapter 2 up here? So now you're starting in Chapter 2. I'm going to go ahead, say I'm doing all the work in Chapter 2. I'm done, or else I'm partially done. Whatever the case may be, I'm going to go ahead and do a backup. When I create this backup, the first time you create a backup for a company file, and since I named this to Chapter 2, it is a new company file, it comes up with online as what's marked. But I'm going to click local because I don't have an online place to save it. And it says, okay, well, where you want to save this new backup file? You haven't backed this up before. And I'm going to go to my place where I've been putting everything, which is right here. Okay. I'm going to use this location. I'm going to let me cancel this and go back and click this option. I'm going to unclick this box where it says add the date and time of the file to the file name. And I want to show you what this looks like. You see it doesn't put that date and time there. So this is how I want it to look, because I'm just going to override this. Every time I back up chapter 2, I'm just going to override this backup file. I'm going to exit out and I'm going to come back in so you can see now that it's going to look a little bit different. And then I want to show you what the files look like. Okay, now I have a new company file. I have a chapter 1, a chapter 2, and a project 1. So you don't have to do a restore unless you do not have the current company file. Since I created this chapter 2 company file, I can just open this. When you're starting fresh and you're wanting to either save from a prior or restore from a prior chapter, that's when you would do your restore. Now look, I'm back in my folder to show you what all these files look like. I'm going to sort by company type real quickly so that you can see my company files are right here. Here's my backup files. I have the chapter, just the first chapter 1 data file, the one dated January 14th, the one dated 18. I'm going to just delete the older ones because I really don't need them. So now I have a chapter 1 backup file, project 1 backup file, and this chapter 2 backup file. I haven't done my chapter 2 work, so I will continue to overwrite this file right here until I get finished. And these are the company files. As you progress, and you don't have to worry too much about this right now, I want to mention it. You really only need a backup file for each chapter. Well, and each chapter is going to have 2. It's going to have the project file and the chapter file. Because you can always restore by using these backup files. These company files are going to start getting bigger and bigger. So then you're going to have, a company file for every chapter and a backup file for every chapter. Once you finish with the chapter, you really don't need these company files anymore. But I know you may be uncomfortable deleting anything, so just go ahead and let them sit here for now. And then later on down, either later in the semester, and you can either ask me, or even if you want to wait till the end of the class, you can delete a lot of these company files and just keep your backup if you want to keep them at all. So that should get you started with chapter 1 complete and the beginning of chapter 2.